Remember, remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. Hello everyone, today is November 5th and I'm going to be going over a quick movie review of V for Vendetta from 2005. V for Vendetta stars Hugo Weaving as V, Natalie Portman as Evie, Stephen Rea as Finch, Stephen Fry as Dietrich, John Hurt as Adam Sutler, and Tim Pigott-Smith as Creedy, with Roger Allam as Louis Prothero. It is directed by James McTeigue. So V for Vendetta is based on a famous graphic novel written by Alan Moore, and this is an adaptation of it. The Rosowski brothers produced it, and James McTeigue directed this. He would later on direct films like The Raven, starring John Cusack and Luke Evans. V for Vendetta has some differences from the graphic novel. The graphic novel was more about like Thatcherism after Margaret Thatcher, and this is more of like modern American politics, but it still has the totalitarian government feel to it, very much like 1984. And John Hurt is even in this film, which is pretty crazy considering he was in 1984. But you also have some other differences to the character of Evie. She's not a 16-year-old streetwalker in this. No, she's a bit older and she works at a news network. Also, you have a different backstory. The St. Mary's virus hit. This government got started through a mass virus, where in V for Vendetta, the graphic novel, we really live in a post-nuclear world. But still very much, it still has some of the fundamental ideas. A little bit more streamlined, simplified, suppressed, compressed, for the modern era, for a film, and you get a little bit more of America politics era. This was during the Bush administration, so you definitely get a bit of that, and the Patriot Act, and government basically having control over people. And it's strange because this movie, after Donald Trump has become president, has become more relatable and just kind of scary and eerie. I can totally see us going into this world, the way the news is controlled, the way politicians act, the way groups are persecuted, objectified, talked about against. You have like homophobia, xenophobia, racism, stuff like that. This is shown here. And also a certain distrust within the government, not only from the people, but the government having will over the people without any democracy, almost becoming like a dictatorship. It's a totalitarian government in this. And I really like that because the character of V in this, he is a terrorist, but in this, you really sympathize with him. In the graphic novel, he was a terrorist, but you really didn't know what to think. He was just that. This one, he's a little bit more relatable. And of course, for a film, you have to have a protagonist and antagonist. And that doesn't mean they have to be good people, but you do relate to V as the protagonist in this film. Hugo Weaving does a fantastic job. Originally, James Purefoy from Rome was going to be V, and then they got Hugo Weaving. You don't really hear Agent Smith in this, and he does such a great job with voice acting because he wears a mask, yet with his voice acting, you could totally see or feel what he's emoting. It's like C-3PO in Star Wars. There's no expression, but you know what the character is feeling or conveying at that moment, and Hugo Weaving does such a fantastic job. Natalie Portman is a standout. Evie is one of her best roles. I know she got an Oscar for Black Swan, but she really should have gotten an award for this movie. She goes through hell in this. She gives a brilliant performance. You get to see her as this kind of timid, shy character that's not very strong, to being a person who ultimately just does not give a care, being a strong warrior, being put through everything. After going through hell, she becomes a totally different character, living without fear. But I do like the themes in this film. It does provide a lot of good themes, not only about like politics, but again, governments controlling the people, and eventually a boiling point of the people taking back control of their governments. There's a saying that V says in this that people should not be afraid of their governments, governments should be afraid of their people. And that's really well conveyed in this. Stephen Rea does a fantastic job. You may have recognized him in films like The Crying Game or Interview with the Vampire. He does a really good job as Detective Finch, Inspector Finch in this. I like his role. Now, in the graphic novel, he really was about the job and getting V. This one, he's investigating it, but it's more about a character uncovering the truth of certain things in this world. And I think he does an amazing job in this. You have the other characters in Prothero. Yeah, he looks like fucking Steve Bannon. I'm not even kidding. And the rhetoric he puts through is totally like the Trump administration now. It is crazy. Overall, if you're a fan of the graphic novel, I would totally separate it, because this to the graphic novel is like Watchmen to the graphic novel. They're not going to get all the ideas in there. They have to make it different for a film. But if you judge it on a film, you may be very well surprised. I saw this on opening week, and of course I wanted to see it because the Wachowski brothers were involved. And as a person growing up, living through the 2000s, you're aware of The Matrix and the Matrix trilogy. So I was excited to see this, and I did not read the graphic novel then, and I was really engrossed in this film. Not only did it have some action pieces, but it's a very smart, intelligent movie. Maybe not as much as a graphic novel, but still, on its own as a film, it's a very solid film. A well-done one at that. And I do like the relationship between Evie and V in this, and how the government is portrayed. And ultimately, the backstory of V and what he must do. We really get why he's doing this. We get the motivations of the character. And I could go more into spoilers, but there are still people who have not seen this movie. And even though it is over 10 years old, I do want to leave a little bit more for those who haven't seen it. And the cinematography is very well shot. James McTeague did this, but it definitely has that Wachowski brothers vibe. It definitely has that Matrix look to it. The music is great, that da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then he blows up the Bailey. It's just fantastic. And it's a very ballsy movie, considering, like, after 9/11, you have the war on terror and all that type of stuff, and then to have this terrorist. And it's almost like that saying of, like, one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter, you know? And I really like that. And then also, like, how do we get to a totalitarian government, you know? And you not only see that in the news, here in America, at least in some places around the world, but you could definitely see that here, how dictators act over the people. Very much like 1984. John Hurt, the late great John Hurt, does an amazing job as the villain here. He's mostly seen through a big screen, but he is a little bit weak in the later parts of the movie, and you have some other people who want power, but I just love how everything connects. And the film takes place over the course of a year. There's great scenes. There's a scene with dominoes. It's just fantastic. And the fighting, again, it's a little bit slow-mo, but it's still pretty well done. But it's a story and the characters that really make this movie, especially with Evie. I mean, V, there's some parts to this that are very crazy, and you kind of wonder, whoa, why did he do that to her? Why did he let her go through that, you know? And that's very, very crazy in that regard. But it's a fantastic movie. If you've not seen V for Vendetta or read the graphic novel, I highly recommend both. If I had to give this film a score, I would give it a 5 out of 5 and an A+. V for Vendetta is a well-crafted film. And it's one of the better adaptations. Now, it's not exactly like the graphic novel, but what is like the novel or graphic novel? I really love this in Watchmen. And this is a rated R movie, so it's very, very well done. It's simplified for a film, but if you judge it based on a film alone, it's a really great film. And it's a bit more mature. And I do like the themes. I do like the character arc of Evie. Hugo Weaving, Natalie Portman are standouts. The action cinematography is great. And I really like this movie. It's awesome. And of course, it's a Guy Fawkes mask. You have Anonymous dressed as V. So it's kind of had this symbol ever since its release, really. And yeah, I can't think of a better time now than to check out V for Vendetta if you haven't. And if those who have seen it, we've seen this type of government work throughout history. And to watch the news now, if you live in America, is it really hard to imagine a world like V for Vendetta? I mean, it's just crazy, but yeah, it's a well-done movie, and if you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. 5 out of 5 and an A+. Damn train! Maybe it's V there. Anyway, if you have seen V for Vendetta, let me know in the comments below. What did you think of the film? If you like this video, click the like button, comment, and subscribe for more videos.